Right, this is an operation description of the Kiosk and TRS, and there are two programs. One is a kiosk, which is identified by this small dumbbell icon, and the second program is the TRS, which is the training report system. The kiosk function is to display the programs established from the TRS. So everything is actually pulling data to and from the TRS, but the kiosk is the simpler part to go through firstly, which will start by double clicking the icon. Then you come up with a login screen. The login can be, the default login to start off from new is for calibration. It's 000, or machine management or calibration. So it brings up this kiosk setup screen, which can allow you to calibrate angle, calibrate torque, electronic resistance, which is not part of this system, machine management, which shows the pre-calibrated values of whether it's a single motor or a dual motored system. And these are factory settings that determine the calculations for the performance software. And we exit out of this there. And application logo means you can enter your own logo, company logo, and put it on the home screen. So we'll cancel. So to exit out of this, we go cancel, and then log out, log back in, and then the second default program, so 000 only allows you to get into the machine management screen. The second default number we use, which is a system administrator to start up with, is 12323. And you can go login, and up comes the preloaded programs that have been established in the TRS. So all these routines are set up in alphabetical order of any type of routine you want to do. And on this particular machine, which is the accelerator, we've preloaded all the different types of exercise programs that can be achieved. And as I'm downloading the arrow there, or down arrow, it just drops down to all the programs that are in the system. And in any of the programs, general fitness is a good one. It shows you what the routines are down there, and if you then go continue, it'll bring up the exercise screen. On the exercise screen, it shows, as we've logged in as a system administrator, it's calling the person system administrator. The program we selected was general fitness, but could have been any of those programs in the menu that was in the drop-down menu. And then the first set, in this particular exercise routine, it's the first set of 30 sets. And it's just the start off in the sequence of exercise for this particular machine is a chest press, and then it subsequently goes through other exercises. It tells you the number of reps. We've preset a value of target power and target speed. Power is displayed in watts of energy. The speed is displayed in degrees per second of movement. And the range of motion is of course, the range that the handlebar is moving. Now, if by chance these values here are too extreme, in this particular kiosk program, it's possible to adjust. So if we adjust that, up comes the plus or minus arrows there, which means you can increase or decrease the range of motion. And same with repetitions, and then also the load settings on the dials, so can be plus or minus. See, I've altered them, and you'll notice there the extension has got an arrow up, which corresponds with the dial which says up, and flexion is usually down, and it's got the arrow down, so you know which one you're adjusting, which corresponds with the control valve. This little picture up here brings up the starting position of the exercise on this particular machine, and it says you can get to see the starting position of the handlebar, the height of the column, and the down position for where you're starting from. In most exercises, the handlebar is always starting, and it reads from 0 upwards in the down position to start the motion. If we go next, it has a small video that shows what to do. And if we go next, it just goes back into the start position. So if we go close down there, it's a wizard program, so that the screen tells you what to do. Then if we go continue, once we've pressed the adjust button, we've got to, any of these adjustments there, we've got to say done, and then it activates the adjust button, and which means you've completed the adjustments or want to adjust it again, and then the menus down the bottom will allow you to cancel the routine if you don't want to do it. It allows you to skip the routine if you don't want to do that. It goes on to the next set of exercises, and or continue. And if we go continue, the screen will then be in a ready, set, go position, and the handlebar will be ready to move in the upward position. So in this case, I'm just going to demonstrate that I'm moving the arm up and down. So I see I've completed the range of motion. You have to complete the start and finish range of motion to count a valid rep. The screen is displaying the degrees per second of movement, inflection and extension movement, and the bars and force, inflection and extension by way of watts. So if we complete this, if I just increase the intensity, it increases the size of the bar graphs, which is increasing the amount of work that's being performed. See, it's counting down how many reps I've got to go, so it's finished. As soon as that set is finished, these lines in the screen are preset values of estimated torque that we would hope people can achieve. When the set is completed, it automatically shows the best rep 5 in this case was there, in watts of power in the extension, and the same inflection. It shows me the duration of the cycle time of the number of repetitions that were set to be done. And it shows me here, inflection and extension, the best of the speed in degrees per second. So when it's got down here, DPS, degrees per second of movement, it's displaying that. And the combination of speed and force and extension and inflection is the formula to calculate the power output. If we have saved values in here, the personal best values will come up here to compare against the ones that were achieved on this set. So that's what happens if we go then continue. Now then it comes up the second set, and it's still chest press, and it's still saying, you know, this one's 10 reps, and so on. So it's got the preloaded data already in there, which has been established in the TRS program. If we went skip, see the next set. So each of these ones have got different exercise parameters to prompt the different response out of the equipment, and so on. So it's got different values and different ranges of motions. And in this particular machine, it's actually connected. The software is connected to an accelerator, which is a multi-function machine. So the next exercise goes on to a shoulder press. And subsequently it goes through a routine. If it's a dedicated machine only for a single function, the routines will still come up, but it won't skip from one different body part exercise to another because if it's not multifunction. So depends on the particular machine that the software is attached to, but the display values and the reading of the software is the same on all equipment. So if we go cancel, and so you can see here we have a complete set, and that's got all these routines in here. It's a complete exercise routine. If it happened to be just a chest press we wanted to do, and the machine was just purely a chest press function, you can see the preset programs of 3 sets shows the repetitions and the resistance range, which vary, the torque values, which will vary, and the speed values. So we expect these are target settings, and then the real values are displayed when we're doing the real live exercise. At the end of a complete routine, the system will say, do you want to save or not? And by executing save, it automatically downloads all the completed sets to the TRS. So the kiosk purely is a active display screen activating the pre-selected type of exercise you want to do, and then performing that exercise routine via the number of sets, and when it's completed you go save. If off of this screen here we can go to the TRS here, and it'll ask us to log in. So that's one way of accessing the TRS, and you'll notice there it has, as with the kiosk login, it can have username, birth year, and or PIN number. And all of that is established in the TRS, how to establish a user, the birth year, and or allocating a PIN number. And as you noticed before, I had said that the default login codes were 000 in for calibration machine management, and 123 to get into an exercise program. But that's just to start the program off from you before you enter your own details in there. Once I'll just exit back out of this again, just there, and we'll log out here, and then we'll just log in to exit out the machine completely. See, on this screen here we can go to the TRS. We can log in, this is the kiosk screen now. We can log in as an individual, we can log in as a group, or we can log in as a guest. The function as individual means I'm a single user, and in my case, my login code is I've allocated my PIN number as 001. So if I went individual, my information comes up and the routines on this machine come up. If I want to go in as a group, I can enter multiple users, up to 18 different types of users. And that means once they're logged in once, the machine, let's do this, we go there, my PIN number, join, what type of routine I want to do, chest, continue, so it's a wizard program, and then I can bring up the next person. So I bring up another person I know in the system, 002, and go join, and it brings up Ella's routine, and I bring up, so we're going to do the same routine, so we go continue, and see how it keeps populating the people that you want to put in there to rotate through the screen. If we go continue, then those 2 people we put in there are loaded, and then we go start, continue, and we do our routine. If I go cancel and do Ella, it does the same thing. As soon as that bar is active, it's ready to go, we go continue, and Ella would start doing the exercises. So that's how the kiosk screen works. If, for example, we want to do, we go cancel, I want to do group, the group allows me just to go into a demonstration program for the purpose of showing somebody as a guest what they can do on the system and looking at the exercises and doing an exercise, but none of their data can be saved because they're not logged into as a user in the TRS program. So that's the 3 functions of what these units do. So we can go we'll go back to the home screen, but remember on this kiosk screen we could access TRS from here, or if we wanted to I'll just take us back to the home screen, and I can bring the TRS up from here. So same login screen, and I can log myself in and or go 000 from start, log in, and up comes a menu of how we want to enter people into the system. So if we go contact management, it's create a new contact. So if these people are in the system at the moment, or these users, see there's myself and Ella, and we can view, we can edit any of those people there. We can type in a name there and or first name if there's a lot of people in the system and you can fast find them. Or we can create a new contact. And if we created a new contact, you can allocate a membership number if your centre has that system there. The ID button is non-valid on the system. The title has to have a Mr. or Mrs. Or Ms. Surname, first name, gender, so those things are needed to be mandatory, and date of birth. And when in Australia here, unless the computer is set up into your international area zone, in Australia we go day, month, year. So when we go into here, we fit in day, might be 01, it's got to be either it's 0 and a single digit, or it's 10 or 12, there's 12 months of the year, and then 1980. So you have to have those in. But if you're in America and you set in the settings of the computer to international USA time zone, it'll go month, day, year. So it depends on what the time zone is set in the settings in the PC as to which order to put that in. And it's important because it won't allow you to enter a user in there if you've got the wrong sequence there. Then we go, so you notice it's got a pop-up keyboard. The username, once you've filled in here, pops up into this screen here. The PIN number is where this allocated PIN number comes from for a quick access, and it starts at 000, and then we use 2 or 3 numbers like the 123 number and that as a default login. But once you're putting your own details in there, that PIN number is going to be the easiest and quickest way to log into the system for yourself and or any clients that are using the system. In this contact role, it's important. It has a drop-down menu, and see it says System Administrator, Administrator Receptionist, Trainer Coach, and Athlete. If it's a normal client, they're an athlete client. If they're a trainer, in the centre, and you may have lots of trainers, then they're a trainer coach. If you're a sole operator, you're a system administrator, administrator receptionist, which gives each of these functions gives more and more access to more behind the scene back end data or configurations. And the system administrator is the most accessible one, but if you allocated a system administrator, it brings up calibration screens and other screens that are not for the everyday user. So you just need to allocate yourself into the appropriate role. Then routine type, it just drop down. The person could be an athlete, might be rehab if it's centered, or general fitness, male or female. Generally, I try and just simplify it by saying they're an athlete or they're rehab, depending on whether if it's an athletic environment, they're purely athletes, just call them all athletes, and it stops segregating the user menu and separating them into one category or the other. If you put them all as athletes, if you're in a medical environment and it's all rehab, because the system is a rehab system as well, then allocate them as rehab users. I wouldn't worry about the male or female general fitness, because they're either going to be probably one or the other of the 2 top headings there. So that's the mandatory setup that's needed to establish a user. And then the primary trainer, see it says trainer, rehab or trainer sample, so it's usually trainer sample. The position is sports related, so you can put in what position they're playing in their sport. It's a bit vague, but because it's set up here for sports in Australia, but can be other sports can be added into the back end of the TRS system. So that can keep adding to a drop down menu there if you've got sports in specific sports in your country. And then disability, it's just for file notes, so if the person's there for a specific injury reason. And heart rate monitor is not applicable on this system. We have it, but it's not a standard feature. So when you add all that in there, you go save and you've created a user. So if we go back to home, so that was what we just done to create a new user. If we go into my contact details here, you see I'm logged in as system administrator, and it tells me who I am there. But we'll just log out of this again and log back in as my file 001 and go join. And then if I go into see it's brought my name up now as a user, because that's my PIN number. And then if I go into my details, at this point, see, I can edit any of this and update this at any stage. These values here are for performance testing, for other values that you can put into the system that are not data coming from the machine. So vertical leap, long jump or broad jump, and 40-yard sprinting values that are performance values that are used in other sports that can be added. But if we want to look at routines, we'll go, for me, we'll look in here, and this particular machine's an accelerator, but if it happens to be a knee machine or a hip machine or whatever, it'll be bringing up the data that's been saved off the specific machine. And this machine looking at the software on is attached to an accelerator. So the last session that was, and then they become historically dated. So you can see today's date was the last session just completed, and it was done at 6:45 p.m. And we click in there and we can look at all the exercises that were done in this routine and drop down here and keep going up and down of all the exercises that were done. But if I specifically wanted to look at a chest press, I can look at that one. And then of that chest press, of the first set that I've done, I've got 4 strength reports, which are values displayed in Newton meters of force, and or 4 power reports, which are similar, but they're displaying the values in watts of power. So power and strength are 2 different things and 2 different types of calculations off the same routine. So if we looked at a strength report, we're going to see a flexion and extension. This is one single rep, the best rep that was done in that set, and it's showing me the start and finish acceleration time. So the values we look in here are maximum peak torque, maximum peak speed, time to reach peak torque, which is acceleration time, and angle that the peak torque was reached at. And it tells me down here the relevant details of this test. With the first set, the reps were 12, the load settings were set at 4 and 4. So we've got all the data that what this test was about, and then this is a profile of the flexion and extension rep, the best single rep of that set. So that's a strength report. If we go back to, we want to look at a power report of that same rep, you'll see it's a different profile. See how its profile is entirely different? Because power is calculated as force times velocity, whereas strength is calculated purely on the strength value, nothing to do with the velocity. So we're seeing flexion and extension, but in a different profile, and it's displaying in watts of energy. And the bottom line, so this vertical axis is in watts of power, and the horizontal axis is in milliseconds of time over the distance. So the time that it took to do that repetition, that point there was the time to reach peak torque, and that value there is the peak watts of power that was generated. So that is a strength single rep report. Then if we go into a set report, it shows all the repetitions that were done. So in this case it was probably 10 from memory. Where are we? 12 repetitions. So it's counting flexion and extension of all the repetitions there and showing me the values. When we're looking at a set report, it's virtually an endurance report, which is measuring the first one and the last one, but showing all of them, and it's taking the averages of all the work that's done in this space. And so the blue line above the dark blue line above the light blue line is where the extension was exceeded the flexion movement. But all those spaces in there is the total amount of work that was done in terms of power output. So if we, over the 12 repetitions, as opposed to the previous single rep report, was the best of these 12. So this is the averages, and the previous report was the single best maximum rep. If we then go into comparison report, it's going to ask us to look at a machine, the machine or the date. The chest press will do the first one, and then we have to go back and select the second one. It may have already had that one already loaded. It has. It's loaded the same one against itself. But the idea is, in comparison report, it's showing who the person was, what the date of the test was. But you can see there they're both the same test. But for the purpose of description, one test selected, then the second test should be selected as a different one, and then we go through and look at all these values, and they compare and they show the changes there. In this case they won't, because they're the same report. But and then this is showing in this section here the strength report, single rep best. This is showing the endurance one of all the repetitions done as averages, and you'll see the values. You'll note the values are different in each of the columns there, and then it shows the graphs of what was in comparison. In this case, they overlap one another. You should see 4 curves on there, because there are two reports done. So that's a comparison report. Mm-hmm. Then we go into let's just back out of this. Back here. So we have to. So this is what I needed to do. That's what I should have done, is back right the way back to the start here and done comparison report. Good to see how simple it is to make not make a mistake. You just got to know how to get back and what you're starting at. Still doing the same. I didn't get back. I got to start this program right the way back. We'll skip past this. I'm wasting time on that. So then the range of motion report is a range of motion parameter. So it goes through extension, flexion. So you're going in reverse direction, and it's showing the range of motion that was achieved. So see, it's in degrees. So in this case, it started at 0. And it was the 60 degrees was achieved. So if you were doing an injury and you found that the person couldn't do the full range of motion, you bring the range of motion back and that they can achieve, and then subsequently in comparison report you'll be picking other tests out that they've increased, and be able to see the improvement of the range of motion, because the range of motion changes the horizontal axis from milliseconds in time to degrees of movement. So if we go back now to home again, exit, and log back in as to 123, just default user. Team management is to add a team in. So we've got the Bulls, which was a customer, and so we can add a team name, and the players of that team will then be added in there, and you can bring a team up which populates the kiosk screen with all those players there automatically as the team. So you don't have to add 10 players in individually, because they're added in the team as a team, and their names come up automatically. So that's what the team is for. So we can create a team, see, and it says team name. So it can be, it gives you the selection of the machines that it's going to be applicable to, and then it's got contacts, and so you add. Once you've added that in, it will ask you for an individual user in that team, and that's how you populate the team. So we won't save that because there's nothing in there. We go back into TRS again, and we go into 000. I can use a 000 or 123. So team management, we've done that. Brings up the list of contact managements. That creates a new contact. Team management routine template says, well, on this machine we've got all these machines, these exercises in here that I've listed that this machine can do. And if I wanted to add another one, I'll just go back one step. If it's not already in there as an exercise, and you'll notice this particular machine can go, it's got all the different types of exercises that are available to be done on this machine. But if we want to create a new one and it's not there, then we go back to home, and we've got to go into exercise type, and then for all the exercises that are capable of being done on all the equipment that's in our range and our models, it's listed here. So, and because you'll notice it starts off alphabetically, and the abdominal crunch, it can be done on the accelerator, or the bent over row can be done as on the deadlift machine as a flexion extension, but it can also be done on the accelerator, and so on. So when we've got like chest press, you'll see there's a number of different machines that the chest press and the pullover can be done on. So if they're not there and you've got a specific exercise you want to do, you've firstly got to look through here so you don't duplicate it, and you'll see the name of the exercise and then the machine that it might be on. And in particular, later machines where we have multi-chest squat. See, we've got a power takeoff on a squat machine, or a push press on a multi-machine, but we could also have a squat just on a squat machine only, and they're specifically called that. So if you want to add a new exercise, you'll check whether it's in this menu and whether it's on that machine. If it is, it will find it in the previous program. If it's not, you can add it in there. So if we go back to routine management now, we want to create a routine, and it asks you what the machine might be. So this is on the accelerator. So we can say, we'll say accelerator. Accelerator. And then, template name, sorry. No, template name is the machine, not the, is the name of the exercise, not the machine, sorry. Let me go back. So it's called, it might be chest. And then we go. It can be done on it's going to be done on an accelerator. But you notice down here, it could be on a multi-machine. It can't be on it won't be on a hip or that, but it could be off the accelerator or off the multi. So, but we're just going to say in this case, it's off the accelerator. Then the routine user type, remember earlier, it's athlete or rehab, so we'll say athlete, and we go save. And then we want to create a set. So it's just been called, let's go back, we'll go back to where we were. See, it's chest press for accelerator. So we called it, that name, it's filling it in. Now we're going to find it will say, it's chest press, because we've already identified and it's in the menu. So we go chest press. Count can be by seconds or duration, count by repetitions, or duration is over time, but normally it's repetitions. The repetitions can be anything. 10, 12, you can add different exercises in there. So see, this one we put 15 in there. The range of motion, you need to know on the exercise machine that on a chest press the normal range of motion is about 80 degrees. So we've got 80. And then it's asking for the resistance dial settings. It might be 4, 2, can be anything, but appropriate to the exercise. So this is flexion movement, this is extension movement. Then the target power is a power estimation where these lines are formed in the screen, and it might be power. Power is 3 times the value of torque, and on a chest press it's not uncommon to do 150 Newton meters, so it might be 450 watts of power. So see, target power, and I'd like to think that we're trying to match the power out equations the same for each flexion extension movement. The target speed, it's ideally all these speeds should be around about the 200 degrees mark. So we got 200 and 200. And then the final equation is the target torque, and I said it's a third of the value, so we say 125. And it doesn't matter if you don't achieve this, it just puts a line in the screen as a target to try to achieve, as an indicator on the screen. And if you went save, now that would then, I won't do this because it's going to add it into the program, but that save would then put this program into the routine management thing. And we can keep changing. Once we put that in, it'll come back to the screen again and ask you to add another set, and so you can alter the parameters of the exercise to create a routine around the name that you've called it. Let's cancel there. So that will just keep on adding these sets into this. So once I'd save that, it'll fill in the screen there, and then it will then ask me to do another one. So I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets. I would be varying the repetitions and the resistance range to prompt muscular neurological activation, and a number as many sets as I want, and as many as over time repetition sets. So that's that part of it. We'll go back now to lookup management is actually how you, if you want to change the rep count, for example. So we go press that, and it brings up this and see where the reps are there. But if you wanted, and in particular it might be for range of motion, but rep count, if we wanted to have 18 or 2 or 3, we can add that in there by new, and then to arrange the order they're in, which should be probably numerically syncing to the values that are here, and then you're going to put the date, the start date in there, and the finish date similar to what's in here, and you can put you can put the individual numbers, anything you like there. So always see rep count. Where are we? Go back. Look at management. So if we wanted to do range of motion, so you might find it's pretty comprehensive, but 10 right the way through. But if you wanted to add, see, it's got more, it goes right the way through. The system, most exercises, people can't go past 180 degrees in a range of motion. So a shoulder movement might have 180 degrees, but a bicep movement will have, or a knee movement, it's got 60 or 70 degrees. So that's the reason why you've got the opportunity to customise all of those settings that are in there. You can cut. Remember, I said earlier in the TRS setup, you can add sports. So if you went into look up management, and it says there sport type fitness, you can go in there and add a sport to it. So all this is where you can customise your programs for anything that you want the system to do. So I think site logo is how you add your own customised logo. Application setup you don't need to do. I think that covers basically the use of the TRS in how to set yourself up as a user and or a patient as a user, and set exercises up in the system and change the parameters of exercise. So you've got so each of these menus you just need to play with and get familiar with to be able to add routines or create exercise types if they're not already in the system, and create a team and or a user and or look up contact management for who's in the system, and to get to reports. So mostly what you'll be wanting to do is to look at the set an exercise up and then look at the reports that the person's done, and you go into there and you bring up your exercise routines, and this one here, because it's not a valid, it's 000 I logged in at, hasn't got any data in there. But if I logged in under myself, see I'm under System Administrator, we've not saved any data, but if I went back to my login there, login, contact management details, then there's me, and then routines, and there's my routines there. One relevant thing to look at, which is commonly wanting to be viewed, is knee. So if we do, so there's the first set of knee that I did. So if we go there and look at a power report, it's a pretty good representation of a flexion and extension, flexion movement. And if I went back, let's just go back out of this, and we go into accelerator again. I just want to bring up that comparison report, just because we messed that up before. Comparison. Yes. See, we've got a comparison of two separate tests. So, and it gives you a ledger of what the colour of the curves mean, and it's showing me now. The yellow and the blue are the two extensions, which are nearly the same, and the brown and green are the flexion, and you see they're different. So, and then when we look at the values here, all these columns down here are showing the difference and where the values are different. So that's the relevant of this system. So that's how you compare one test against another. That's all. I hope you can make sense of all that, and good luck.